Love to Drop Nation. We're just surfing the wave, baby. Let go. Yo, I had to do a part two because I felt like I was really rushing that last joint, with the dropping the city of David, Cuzco drop. That's a lot of information. So even though it was a 2 hour joint, I still feel like it was rushed. And I was going to sleep last night like, I feel unsettled. You know how The Sinking in Egypt was a 6 part series. I had to get it all out. So there was more to a lot of those docs as I kept reading that I wanted to make sure we got out. So man, this is part two, you know what I'm saying? And then we're going to keep it pushing. But this is on the City of David again. Love to Antoine Daniels for the drop. And yeah, thank you for allowing me to share that energy, man, with our people. So let's just kind of go through it, man, and just have a good time while we do it, surfing the wave, man. Get with it or get left on. Oh, come to me. All right, you good? We good. Let go. All right, let's go back to you got all these documents. So you know what I'm saying. You click on this. I know it's like you're gonna see like 40 something. It's a gang of documents, and I will organize them because people are asking me like, which one is this and which one is that. I'm like, it's there. It's just there. All right, it's just there. But I will organize it to help, keep it clear. Because I know sometimes you need to get it. You might be talking to somebody. You might be like, oh, man, I know King Drop. I know I can click on any video, and these links are going to be there to help me prove my case to myself or to anybody. So I want to make that easy for y'all. So I will get that done on the ASAP now that I really think about it. Nah, but the links are there, and I'm going to pile like another 10 or so on top of that just from this. Because you're going to need this drop, you know what I'm saying, to get your transitional wave, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us are connecting dots, so these are transitions. We're transitioning and combining things right now. So just back to the Mazaka again. Was it Genesis 10, talking about the sons of Japheth. These people have hidden our history, man. They've remixed it. They've put tribes different places. We're calling on these tribes and this tribes, but we're looking at our documentation as it's pulling up here from the soil, and we had different indigenous names here. So just because it came out at 1611 hijack after King James came here himself, and it's documented in that book, History of the United States by J.C. Ridpath, that King James and Charles came over here before, and during 1603, 1606, King James issues 2 patents. And these are specifically to colonize you. And then he issues his 1611 joint, and all this is about him colonizing North and South America. Because this is the old world. How do we know that? So this particular doc right here on viewzone.com. And peace to everybody that sent me these links to help me put this together. So, I am not a one-man team, man. This is a product of Drop Nation. And I think that's why everyone's kind of digging on it, because you know what I'm saying? All we doing is recycling the energy, In our communities, we don't got that, right? Like, our dollar goes in and out. Well, our dollar, all that shit is an illusion, right? All we really got is energy. If we learn how to recycle our energy, all the commerce and, how we deal is going to make sense. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to deal with charging our brothers X, Y, and Z's. Let's say we start off over from scratch. We take their coins, put their money on it. It's done, right? And then we just come together and we say, all right, well, what's your talent? What are you offering to the community? Like, okay, well, I'm a writer. Oh, okay, good. Well, we need writers, right? We need documentation, right? We're always going off the writing. All right, what are you offering? I'm a chef. What do you do? I'm a dentist. What do you do? I'm a doctor. What do you do? You know what I'm saying? And then you start giving your free services to the community. And the things you need, you got your community giving to you for free. Now you tell me, is that not freedom? Is that not a kingdom of freedom? Where now you're just bartering based on your services, based on the energy that's recycling now into your community. Because you can't take that to anybody else's community, right? I mean, this is your community, so you're good here. All this is free for you in the community because everyone is digging on it. Everyone's putting into the pot their service, whatever they're doing. Whatever it is you do, you ain't got to get popular in this kingdom. Just come apply that to your own kingdom, your own freedom. You don't need commerce or dollars or credit cards or none of that. You just need to be one. And whatever you want to trade, you trade. Whatever products you want to trade, you trade. Whatever things like that. But that's freedom. That's just based on, okay, I'm feeling good with this. You feel good with that? Man, good, because I need some more of this, and you got some more of that. And you're safe in your community. Now, can you take that to a whole nother tribe or community? No, you will have to take tangible goods, right? Gold and silver and everything else. But what if I told you that you were born with that as an inheritance? You were born with gold and silver and all this other stuff. So we never tripped on all that because it was a natural thing for us. Having gold and those precious things. These people came over trying to trade their stuff, and we were just like, here, man, take some gold and go. We're flooded with it over here. They're still finding new gold mines in the Grand Canyon, and then keeping us out of that whole area. You know, everybody got that locked down. It's a complete lockdown. You can't even go near certain areas of the Grand Canyon because of the new gold mines they finding. Who belong to who? The children of the land. Who's that? The only people that don't know who they are. Do you see the game? Only one people really don't know who they are. And yet there's all this territory and land being excavated, and they're saying the people disappeared. The Mayans disappeared, the Anasazi, the Aztecs, the Inca, everybody done disappeared. But there's a large tribe of people that are clearly unique, that are being extorted for all their talents, basketball, football, whatever. Extorted for their talents just to have a life of inheritance that they already had. And they don't know who they are. And here's all these desolate lands and the people walking around like, I don't know who I am. But here's all this desolate lands, millions of acres. Again, the government is holding 770 million acres of land in a trust, fighting between the feds and the state, fighting over whose land. Two people fighting over land is not there. They just want it. But it's in a trust. But you don't know who you are. As soon as you activate, the game begins. You begin. You renew. You start again. So here's, in the Sons of Japheth, the Genesis 10 talks about Mazaka. Josephus says specifically, for those that are able to understand, that, once was the entire nation once called Mosaka or Mosak. M-O-S-O-C-H, Mosak. Same thing as Moshi, Moshe, Meshi. All that breaks down to Messiah, Moses, Messiah, Moses, Messiah, okay? Get in nice and cozy with you, man. Let me get cozy. All right, so it says proof that the American Mesheks, you see how they spell it? Same way it's kind of spelled in a lot of our translations, and as the sons of Japheth, Meshech, which breaks down to Meshech or Moshe. All right, then you got the Moshe people. Where's the Moshe people? Always got to keep this up. Where's the Moshe people? South America. Then it talks about Russia and all this other stuff because of the Byzantine connection and the Turkey connection. I mean, you want to talk Turkey? You want to talk Turkey? Y'all want to jive with me, man? We could talk Turkey, then we're talking Mazaka, then we're talking Mosa, then we're talking all these things are named after Moses. So you got this Asiatic connection with these Meshi people. Then you got the Mexica languages in Peru, which we research have gone extinct 100 years ago. So you really went extinct 100 years ago. We told you this stuff really started popping off in the 1800s where they truly switched your titles out and called you Negro. And you just forgot all your ties to the land. They came out with the movie Roots, and you said, oh, I can vision myself coming off those boats, but I have never seen those boats with my own eyes, only in their illusion. You never stumbled on those slave ships, right? No, hundreds of thousands of slave ships that it would have taken to take hundreds of millions of people. When we are taking in our books from Jack Forbes, African Americans or Native Americans and Africans, saying it's 4 times harder, thrice the time. It takes, 3 or 4 times the time? That does not sound economical. just take 3 or 4 times the time to come back with the current than to come from America to Europe and Asia and Africa. It takes, debris has been found just floating up the Gulf Stream. So the Gulf Stream takes you up effortlessly, but coming back is 4 times harder. And that's from the sea merchants. And that's how it's designed. You can't get away from that. That's Haya. So why would he make it 4 times harder to reach you in the Americas? And then finally break down that partition in the 1400s? And then you got the dumb diversions, 1452, popping it off. You got their renaissance, their rebirth, popping it off. And these are melanated people. These are melanated people. They are walking among you today saying, brother, black power. It's the same people. And then they got enslaved and put in with us, these Edomites, right? These are sons of Japheth. Some are this, some are that. I mean, they're all mixed together, right? We got the sons of Japheth, the Jebusites, the Thesites, the Ezites. Then you got the Edomites and what they're doing, Idumea, all that kind of stuff. And you're seeing it all leading right back here to South America. But let's go. The Meshiks, all right? So it says possibly the Moshe, M-O-C-H-E, Moshe, and cultures in South America and the now dead Mochica languages in Peru. All right, so we got that. So who are the Meshiks? Tribes like the Mexica, Mexicans, right? So this author thinks that these people are modern day Mexicans, and that's the hijack. We know differently because you could just research Mexico and indigenous Mexico, and it gets darker and darker and darker and darker. And then you see the Maya on the walls, and you see what that really is, right? So you know what, when that hijack began and when they replaced you with a different people, a proxy, so that you never find your way home, and know that they took you from Mexico and Peru and South America, and Columbus said, I came here to recapture the holy city. And you see these people fighting the Gola Wars, and they all look like you. And you read about the treaties that other people had to sign against you. Melanated people. So tribes like Mexica, Mexicans, we're going to get into that. And Mexica did not create original civilizations in their own legends. That's why I read this before, I was confused. Because they're thinking modern Mexicans, they're saying that they did not create original civilizations. So they're thinking these Mexica are just modern day Mexicans. And therefore, because they're thinking they're modern day Mexicans, they're saying they did, and Mexicans and Mexica did not create original civilizations. See, but the indigenous Mexica did create. You know what I'm saying? They are the indigenous people. But because they're thinking about the proxy, because they're thinking about a modern day version of yourself, they're saying, well, they're admitting that the modern day version did not create original civilization. In their own legends, the Mexica stated that they copied the arts of civilization from the tribes already in central Mexico. I'm saying the tribes that are already in central Mexico are the Mexica, are descendants of all this connection. And of course, we got the Olmecs tying into all this. Some people say Phoenicians, some people say this and this and this, but let's see how we're going to tie it together. I assume that they copied their civilization from the Olmecs. So this is an assumption, right? So if the Olmecs are these people, are in fact, forefathers to the Aztecs and everybody else straight up, or if they're a different tribe, but this person's making an assumption. It's not a fact, an assumption that they copied their civilization from the Olmecs, because Olmec ruins extend from the southeastern Veracruz up to the central Mexican state of San Luis Potosí. I have no doubt that with the passage of time, such ruins will be found even further north. The Peruvian Mexica copied the Inca civilization. When you look up the Inca, these people are Negro. So they're saying that the Peruvian Mexica copied them, but again, they're just thinking about more of a modern day situation when the Peruvian Mexica are them. You know what I'm saying? These are all the same people, but you see how they're switching it around based on titles. They'll use your title and reference that to a modern day version of you, right? What I'm calling a proxy, what we call proxy, because that's what they do. They say, okay, let's hide their identity and put in a proxy. It's no disrespect. It's just that's what they did. And if we're going to step forward together as brothers and sisters, we got to step in truth. We can't act like this hijacks and shit is not documented. So based on the proxy, these people are saying, okay, well, let me go back a little bit. I assume that they copied the civilization from the Olmecs because the Olmec ruins extend from the southeastern Veracruz up to the central Mexican state of San Luis. I have no doubt that with the passage of time, such ruins will be found even further north. The Peruvian Mexica copied the Inca civilization. Same people. The Phoenicians did not generally call themselves Phoenicians. All right, so then we went into this last time about how the commoners were called Ka, Aztec, or Toltec. Gentility were called Mexicatl, Toltec-catl, Aztec-catl. All right. It says another name for the Phoenicians they were calling Quad, Q-A-D. In the parentheses, they say Egyptians. So they were calling Phoenicians. Another name for them were Egyptians, according to this source. Just the name. Okay, so I'm going to skip down. All right, here we go. This is the part that caught me. I was like, I didn't drop this last time. It says the Aztecs called the Spaniards Tule, T-U-L-E, meaning Turks. The Aztecs were calling the Spaniards Turks. Now we know these are all dark, melanated people we're talking about. So Spaniards were dark. The Turks were dark. All right. The Aztecs were calling the Spaniards Tule, T-U-L-E, meaning Turks, for the ancient Turks lived in an area of Central Asia called Turan or Tulan. The Nahuatl people claimed that they were from Tolan or Tulan. I've seen that Tulan in different cliches as well, saying that they were coming from different areas of Tulan. So that could be your Asiatic connection right there. But none of this stuff is a slam dunk. You know what I'm saying? We're all just building. All right, so here's the part. It says the ruins of Tula or Tulan in Tula, Hidalgo, the idols that once held up the temple ruins of Toltec temples are called Atlantes. Atlantes were the Nahuatl equivalent of the Greek Atlas. Hijack. Boom. I told you I'm leaving, every time I try to leave the Greek mythology, it keeps coming back, jamming me up. I'm leaving Thoth and all this stuff, and then it comes back the same Egyptian, the same Atlantean, the same sinking of Egypt here, and the setting up of the 18th dynasty under the 6th king Tahuti, or, Voice of Ra, or Tutmosis III. That's what started off the 18th dynasty in present-day Kemet, but all those other dynasties were right here. When you're digging up the Grand Canyon, you're seeing millions of acres. Excavation, indigenous habitation sites, they're calling them. Habitation sites, which are what? Cities. Habitation sites are cities. So they've only dug up 3 out of the 2,000 habitation sites that they found. They've only been up close with 3 out of 2,000. So there's over 1,200,000 acres in the Grand Canyon that has not even been looked at up close. And they want to go to Mars. Are you falling for that shit? They ain't even been to the Grand Canyon, but they've been to Mars, the moon, but they can't get past the Van Allen belt. They can't get past the firmament. They can't touch none of this stuff, man. You have to wake up for them. You have to lead them out of their illusion because they're lost in their own shit. So it says the ruins of Tula, Tulan, and Tula Hidalgo, the idols that once held up the temple ruins of Toltec temples, are called Atlantes. Atlantes were the Nahuatl equivalent of the Greek Atlas. So now you got this Atlantean connection. All right, you see these things. I'm sure you've seen like pictures like this before. These joints like this, and these are what they're calling Atlantes. Now you got the Atlantis, all this stuff. And again, Atlantis is the name of the hijack, the fallen angel itself, not the land. People are naming the land after the hijacks. Egypt is a hijack. The land was never Egypt. But Egypt is what we've been taught in their abstract mentality as what this is. And that's what they've created this vibration under. Again, everything's in 440 hertz on our radio. And in the King's Chamber in the Pyramid of Giza is 440 hertz. It resonates. Take a pitch for it, go into it, let me know. But from separate resources and studies. That's all I'm getting out of that chamber. And now we see the connection between the acoustics here and what happened to our actual energetic vibration. And why the Mayans said December 21st, 2012, because that was the end of this period of a slave vibration by order. Then we started waking up, a lot of us in 2013. Personally, I did. Just like that. Ask my wife, I just started opening books, and I don't like to read. So something happened around that, and now we're gearing up as a mass awakening. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we're talking about. So Tula, all this stuff, all this Atlantic connection. So I just want to get that. It says Mexica traders and merchants were regarded with reverence. They were called Poshtaka. This word derives directly from the Sanskrit Pustaka, meaning people who increase, gain, acquire wealth, property. That's what Mexica means. Mexica traders were called Poshtaka, meaning people who increase, people who gain, acquire wealth and prosperity. That's you when you are connected. All right. This is very interesting because now you're going to see that how they're going to really try to twist the proxy, right? The Mexican hijack and say these Mexica people are the modern Mexicans, but they didn't invent the civilization. They copied it from the Olmecs. What these true Mexicas are all these same people. You know what I'm saying? We're still digging into the Olmec connection, but definitely we know the Olmecs, you know what I'm saying, been there. You know what I'm saying? So, but now they're connecting this to the Atlanteans. So are the Olmecs more connect? You know, clearly all this is Atlantis. So the Olmecs is clearly Atlantean. Okay. So whatever this Atlantis, all this kind of stuff. But then again, I don't like to use Atlantis because that's only named after Atlas. So if we're talking about the indigenous land, you got to understand what we're going to get into with this Cuzco further is that this is the indigenous center right here. That's the part of Atlantis that was never sunk. You think the entire, all the multiple continents? Atlantis means it's a plural form of Atlas. So you think all the continents got sunk or just the man-made ones or the ones that were out of order? You got to go back and watch the earlier videos with the insular worlds and how they were trapped in the old world. How with the sinking of Atlantis, then, you know, those waters were unnavigable. They were all muddy. This is all in the Greek mythology. You can corroborate this. But then finally in 1452 is when the waters finally were clear enough to cross. That's when they found you. But before that, they never even got out of into the true ocean. Again, people had this one dude was like, man, I told you before, I love all your drop, but stop talking about the flat earth because everything's about our orientation. When you really get it, what the true ocean is and what the smaller sea is, the Mediterranean Sea, it's all they had. They were going from Europe to Africa just inside of that little Mediterranean Sea. When you get out past the Pillars of Hercules, you get into the true ocean, the Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. All that is one ocean. It's called the true ocean. And it surrounds us in a circle like that. And we are in it. And when you come out of it, you're out of it. But they were here in Europe, and they never could cross all the way through Asia or through Africa to get to the true ocean. There was too many tribes, so they were stuck right here. But they couldn't get through the Pillars of Hercules until Atlantis fell. Then they had an opportunity. Because Athena, right? They chose Athena or something happened and she gave them power over Poseidon over here and then all this kind of stuff happened. So Poseidon is the Thoth hijack. It is Egypt. Poseidon is all that stuff. Right? If you're trying to tie it into scripture and all this kind of stuff, Poseidon would be what? The son of, what do we say? The son of Ham, Shem, you know, the Ham's son. That was cursed. So he would be Canaan. Poseidon would literally be Canaan. And he came over here, what, to South America and all this kind of stuff. And then you got Canaanites. But they are mixed with the fallen angel seed, which is why we're not supposed to mix with them, because it was a different vibration here. And we had to clear them out, which is why Joshua was clearing out Canaanites. Poseidon. Thoth. Egypt. All right. So it says, just as our forefathers did back in Central Asia and Northern India in ancient times, many Mexican-American activists, okay, so now we're talking about Mexican-Americans. So now you clearly see that they're going to try to tie these Mexica people with the proxy, with what you think of Mexican now, Mexico or Mexica. Mexica? Mashika is Moshe. Moshe is Moses. All we're talking about is Moses. All we're talking, go back and watch the Mazaka drop and you see all this ties together. All we're talking about is Moses. All we're talking about is Moses. So we're trying to say that these are the people of Moses, just as their forefathers. So Mexico, Moses, is the whole place named after Moses? I mean, I've heard all kind of different ways. All Mexico and all. Mexica. See, I mean, that's the language in Peru, right? Mexica, Moshica, Moshe, Mozaka over there in Byzantine. Then later changed from Mosak to Mazaka to Khazar to Khazaria to Caesarea. All that, into the Roman Empire, all that kind of stuff. All in Turkey, right? But it's the same thing. So you got Moscow named after Moshe or Mosek or Mosky. All that is Moshe. All these are ways of them twisting Moses. Moscow, Russia, and all that is named after Moses. Mexico is named after Moses. I'm just surfing away. I'm just putting a hypothesis together. I don't know about you. But it seems like Mexico is named after Mexica, Meshi. Moses! Mexico is Moses. So are we going to have to physically do it? Are we going to have to literally find Moses in Mount Nebo? Moshe, his body was never unabated. Life force was never taken. And then follow him into the land of Moses, Mexica. Back to Peru where they were speaking Mexica language. And he had his whole city set up, which also Cuzco is set up, which is the city of David. And you got the Solomon's temple, all that in South America. Jerusalem, Peru, Jerusalem is there. Is it all right there in South America? I'm just putting a hypothesis together, right? We're Drop Nation. You drop it on me, we vibrate. We activate. Have you activated yet? Have you decided to push the button? So check this out. So of course we got the hijack. Just as their forefathers did back in Central Asia and Northern India in ancient times, many Mexican-American activists and their Anglo-American turquoise alloys are urging today's Mexiques to rise up and take over this country. So now this is a cry for the proxy. I'm just saying, I'm being disrespectful, but I'm just saying so we understand it. The people put in our place that are now called Mexiques or Mexicans or Mexica, they're now called that. And now these activists, Mexican-American activists, and their Anglo-American turncoat, they ain't talking about you. They're saying the modern-day Mexiques need to rise up and take over this country. Well, they mean it a different way. We can see it actually as like, whoa, they're saying something kind of deep. They ain't really mean it like this, but now that we know they're talking to us, let's see what they have to say that we should do. They need to rise up, take over this country. As estimated, 1 million Mexicas a month are crossing into the USA. So we're talking about the, modern day Mexicans. Could they ever defeat America? It didn't happen that way during Ezekiel's time. So they're trying to tie in the modern day Mexicans with Ezekiel's time. Okay, so they're just trying. I mean, you see they're reaching. All right, in order to determine whether they can win or not, we must remember what Rabbi Alexander Safran said. So here's another hijack about proper interpretation of prophecy in the Torah. Now let's listen up, because let's see if we can pull some babies out this bad one. It transforms the future. So this is what he's saying about the interpretation of prophecy in Torah. It transforms the future into the past, and the past into the future. Can we pull babies out of that? This is what the rabbi, what's his name, Alexander Safran says about proper interpretation of prophecy in the Torah. He says it transforms the future into the past and the past into the future. So proper interpretation of prophecy, which is you. So being able to properly identify yourself and interpret yourself and translate yourself, right, then brings about a transformation. It transforms the future into the past and the past into the future. You waking up, properly understanding prophecy, properly understanding Daniel, properly understanding what's going on with yourself and your migration and what you need to do next, the action, the united action you need to take to get your freedom in your kingdom. That action, that prophecy, that prophetic action is literally transforming the future into the past and the past into the future. In other words, history always repeats itself. If you did an exodus before, if you migrated before, you're bound to do it again. Or you wait. That means you're putting your destruction in your own hands based on lack of what? Faith. What's faith? All right? It's your submission to a promise. What's your promise? It's your inheritance. What's your inheritance? Forever. Your kingdom. But it comes with order. It comes with listening. You know, you only give your children all that guap, all that good if they're listening. My kids on point, man, we go in. I go in with them. If they're not cool, man, we're gonna have to rumble. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to rumble. You know, in the loving way. You know, in the very, spiritual loving way. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe in tossing up the kids to, all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, they got to understand that, it's trill. You got to do it old school. You got to be for real. You know what I'm saying? So, message. All right, so that's a little bit about the Mexica again. This rabbi is interpreting. He says about the proper interpretation of prophecy in the Torah, it transformed the future into the past and the past into the future. In other words, history always repeats itself. Let's go. This next joint's coming from Amiak, King David Blogspot. This is a source that was sent. I believe Antoine Daniel may send me this one. Solomonic Jews in Ecuador and Peru. I just want to read a little bit down to it. Down, it says, New Worlds and Forgotten Peoples, Inca and Jews. In this opus, Gustavo Peretnik draws a fascinating parallel between two seemingly unrelated histories of culture following destruction, struggle, and rebirth. That of the great Inca Empire, annihilated by Francisco Pizarro and the small band of adventurers, and the colonial might of Spain in 1534. So you can't even get no drop on the Incas because they were annihilated in 1534. Columbus said in 1501, I'm coming to America to seize Mount Zion. And he actually said in 1501 he captured Jerusalem in America. You got the documentation right here. It's in the Biblioteca de Colombina, Sevilla. It has to be one of the top 3 links, normally. I know I put a lot more drop on there now, but again, I'll label this stuff. But it's there if you got the patience to find it, man. It is there for you, so I don't want to hear that. All right, so 1534, annihilation of the Inca and the scattered Jewish people during the long centuries of the diaspora, generally victims of whatever reigning power had dominion over them. By deepening our understanding of history from the non-Eurocentric perspective, this article offers an impassioned plea for recognition of the contributions of those people who did not conform to the Western model. In this case, the Quichua speaking nations of Ecuador and Peru, and the Jews. The 9th Inca emperor has been described as a politician and artist, the most enlightened person in America of old. His name was Pachacuti. We read about this in a separate source in the last drop. Pachacuti. I believe it's the same exact thing, right? Pachacuti. All right. His name is Pachacuti. Pachaktec. Look it up. Pachaktec, transformer of the world. And in the 15th century, in campaigns comparable to those of Alexander the Great, he began the expansion of his people, who in less than a century would reign over almost 2 million square kilometers from Ecuador to Chile. In Machu Picchu, the old peak, one can sense the emperor's ancient splendor. The intact fortresses served as a refuge for the Inca rulers when the capital, Cuzco, fell to Spanish invaders. It was the capital. It was the city of David. They came to recapture Jerusalem, man, in 1501. What we're reading about is the city of David. What we're reading about is the Inca Empire, which is Jerusalem. When you read about the Inca, how divine and how enlightened they were, they're talking about you, man. And now you live in Compton. Now you live in Chicago, Chirac. Now you live all over the place where you were in bondage in Egypt, because Egypt was here. You're a stranger on your own land. They're taking a life from your eyes for a long time. You've been inheriting lies, even righteously. You know what I'm saying? We fall into different ideologies as we keep climbing. You know, even when we first wake up, we're like, "Oh, I'm Israelite. Here's the 12 tribe charts." Da 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 da. Yeah, you know, and it's all good. But then it's like, there's more to it, y'all. That's not it. That was just the beginning. It's up to you to keep climbing. But you gotta stop filling your cup so quickly because you're so desperate for knowledge. You're so desperate to teach people that you got knowledge just because you kind of understand a couple things. At the same time, it's simplicity. You do understand that you are the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. You do understand that you are the children of the promise. We are in accordance. But now we're agreeing to build this frequency brick by brick, and these are the bricks. So we're reading about our history here. They didn't take it from nowhere else. This is what happened here. These are our rulerships. These are our chiefs. It says this was the last emperor of Inca, which is what? The last king of what? Jerusalem? Pachacuti. Transformer of the world. Pachacuti, transformer of the world. Hold up. Transformer of the world. And I said what I said. Google's like, what did you mean, what? Google don't know what I'm talking about. He wants me to spell it differently and all this stuff. These people are confused. Look, you put in Pachacuti. I just did it for fun. I put it in exactly the way it was spelled in this particular article, at least. Did you mean, huh? And they had some weird little pictures, and that's it. Alright? I mean, let's look at this. It gives me nothing. You see, man? This is ridiculous. It's annoying. It's annoying to have to search for your history like this because people are so hell-bent, man, on hiding you. Look how we got to do it, man. We got to fight through different things, different proxies, different setups. Man. Okay, look at this. Pachacuti. Let's let us to Pachacuti. What's the first image that comes up? This dark brother with a fro. They give him a fro. Man, they try to give him something. Alright, now we're on a whole nother thing. Alright, so I'm going to leave y'all there. I'm going to let y'all keep that going. The Inca Empire, Emperor. Man, do I got to do it? Let me get one. Let me just get this Wikipedia, because sometimes you're trying to put stuff there, you know, that leads you to other places. So we got Pachacuti Inca, Yupanqui, or Pachacuti, or Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui in the Quechua. Alright. I mean, you know me. This would be a 6-part series, so I'm going to come back because I'm too excited. But I'll just read this part. All right, he was the 9th Sapa Inca, S-A-P-A, Inca. Again, we're stumbling on our titles before we were invaded. All right, even if There's something before that. We're starting. All right, so we're getting out the hijack of their titles and coming back into our time. Our time. Remember, the future will be the past will be the future. History repeats itself. Here we go. So he was the ninth Sapa Inca in 1438 to 1471 in the kingdom of Cuzco, or the city of David, right, which he transformed into the Inca Empire, Tawantinsuyu. So he's the ninth chief or king of Jerusalem. Let's just put it in context. Let's surf the wave. He's the ninth Pachacuti, Inca, Yupanqui, Pachacuti. All right, the ninth Sapa Inca, 1438. 1438. Dumb Diverses 1452 says what? I've read it so many times, I gotta read it with shades this time, because my eyeballs might light up and burn the screen. Gotta prepare myself. I get too excited. I'm just gonna get into it. So we're reading about this chief, this ninth Sapa Inca. Okay. We grant you kings of Spain and Portugal by these present documents. This is from your Pope, leader of your church, Universal Church, right? We grant you kings of Spain and Portugal by these present documents with our apostolic authority, full and free permission to what? Invade. What else? Search out. What else? Capture. What else? And subjugate the Saracens and pagans, dark people in the Americas that never heard of our idol that we're about to bring on them and say convert or die. But just in case you're confused on who our idol is, and any unbelievers and enemies of Christ, they brought that to you, wherever they may be, as well as their kingdoms. We just read about what? As well as their kingdoms. We just read about what? Pachacuti, Inca, Yupanqui, ninth Sapa Inca in 1438 to 1471 of the kingdom of Cuzco. They came to bring down Pachacuti. Last king of Jerusalem. Pachacuti is the last king of Jerusalem. I just came to give you Drop About City of David. I wasn't expected to drive into this particular octave here, man. But Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui is the last king of Jerusalem between 1438 to 1471 of the kingdom of Cuzco. We'll get further into that, which he transformed into Inca Empire, Tawantinsuyu, Tawantinsuyu. Most archaeologists now believe that the famous Inca site of Machu Picchu was built as an estate for Pachacuti. That was his estate. Machu Picchu was just where he was just chilling at, man. You see how beautiful that is? Look up pictures of Machu Picchu. That's just what's his estate. Then you got the kingdom of David, Cuzco. You got Jerusalem, Perusalem is all that, man. All that is Jerusalem. All that's Jerusalem. All that's Jerusalem. And they got you going to the Middle East. Your land is here, man. They found you here. You're an Indian. It's who you are. Blood and bread. Man. And the Quichua, Pachacuti means he who overturns space and time. The name of the last king of Jerusalem, his name in the Quechua, Pachacuti means he who overturns space and time. Now, who can overturn space and time? And Yupanqui means with honor. So with honor, he overturned space and time. During his reign, Cuzco grew from a hamlet into an empire that could compete with and eventually overtake the Shimu. So look who had the. Somebody look that up. Chimu. Chimu. Shimu. He began an era of conquest that within these generations expanded the Inca dominion from the Valley of Cuzco to nearly the whole of western South America. Your mainland. You know how big it is? You think you know how big South America is because you see it in a Mercator projection? You think up is down? You think up is up? I gave it away. Up is down. You flip your map, not just like this. All right, here's your map. Don't just flip. Literally turn it over. Turn it over, man. To when west becomes east and east becomes west and north becomes south, then you have your orientation and then you understand your land. They flipped it all over on you. You are in the east. You said, but I gotta go east. This is east. When you flip it over, you tell me if California is west or east. They flipped it. You prove me wrong. Research. All right. So we just went on a whole sidebar to find that the last king of Jerusalem's name is Pachacuti. 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 Which literally means he who overturns space and time with honor. He who overturns space and time with honor. Now let's go into our Cuzco. Well, let's finish this up back to this particular page. Y'all can pull it up. It's a lot of dropping here. But yeah, that's what it would look like when you pull it up. Alright, so his name, Pachacuti, transformer of the world, or he who overturns space and time with honor. And in the 15th century, in campaigns comparable to those of Alexander the Great, he began the expansion of his people who in less than a century would reign over almost 2 million square kilometers from Ecuador to Chile in Machu Picchu, which is where he was kicking it. That's his estate. The old peak, one can sense the empire's ancient splendor. The intact fortress served as a refuge for the Inca rulers when their capital, Cuzco, fell to the Spanish invaders. From this time, all right, that's when the people of Easter Island went missing. That's when you went missing. That's when you became a missing person alert. That's when you became a Negro. And you're not no longer a Cherokee, or you're not no longer anything indigenous to yourself. You're no longer a Mexica. In Machu Picchu, the old peak, one can sense the empire's ancient splendor. Oh, you want to know what that, I was going to save it for later. What are we talking about Machu Picchu? What are we talking about Inca? What are we talking about the city of David? This is it. This is a real photo. This is not a game. This is a real photo. Unlike pictures of Earth when you Google Earth. This is an actual photo of Machu Picchu, Cuzco. Do you see that mountain? You understand? When we talk Mount Zion, do you understand? You understand Jerusalem when you see it? Would you know Jerusalem if you've seen it with your own eyes? In South America. Does that not look peaceful as a mug? Is it easy to reach these people in South America? Do you know you got to find this place? It's on a mountain. You don't just stumble on it. You got to find it. It's high. It's elevated. It was safe. It was safe. You were safe. Jerusalem was safe. But what did Columbus say in the Biblioteca de Colombina, Sevilla? I'm going to America to seize the holy city and recapture Mount Zion. And did he? Well, what does it say? Machu Picchu, the old peak, one can sense the empire's ancient splendor. Could you just sense the ancient splendor? Can you sense the ancient splendor? Can you sense the ancient splendor of your land where they found you and then put you into man-made cities, and now y'all afraid to make a migration back to your home. And that starts in you, dog. Let's go. In Machu Picchu, the old peak one can sense the empire's ancient splendor. The intact fortress served as a refuge for the Inca rulers when their capital Cuzco fell to the Spanish invaders. So yes, Columbus said, I'm coming to recapture Jerusalem and Mount Zion in America. What does it say? It fell to what? Machu Picchu fell. The capital Cuzco fell to the Spanish invaders. Columbus in there. Cortez in there, right? Alright, so I'm going to let you keep building on that. You got the link. Wait. Oh, got some Red Sea drop. Man, King Solomon said it. This got a lot of drops, so definitely check out this link. I don't want to do too long, okay? Again, we saw Milo. Alright, but I didn't really go into it, so I want to get back to it. Milo. Google Milo and understand its connection to Jerusalem. What's a Milo? What's a Milo? The name of the citadel of Shechem, in Judges 9:6. All of the garrison of which joined in proclaiming Abimelech their king. The Milo at Jerusalem was some kind of fortification, probably a large tower or castle on the wall. The definite article before Milo indicates that it was a well-known fortress, probably one that had been built by the Jebusites, right? All these people are here in America. We're talking about America. David built fortified round about from Milo. David built fortified round about from Milo. This is the city of David. This is Cuzco. You'll see them connected themselves in Wikipedia. They're going to connect this themselves. Watch, surf the wave. David built fortified round about from the Milo. He built a city fortified, a fortified city, a fortified city, a fortified city. Let's go. When we Google, we go Wikipedia Milo. You got the link, pull it up. Let's read. The Milo, Hebrew. So Milo, M-I-L-L is Hebrew. We're talking ancient Hebrew. Was a structure in Jerusalem, first mentioned in the book of 2 Samuel 5:9 and corresponding passages in the book of Chronicles and the book of Kings. However, it is mentioned as part of the city of David and seems to have been a rampart built by Jebusites prior to Jerusalem being conquered by the Israelites. The text also describes a Milo built by Solomon and repaired by Hezekiah without giving an explanation of what exactly the Milo was. There is some debate among scholars as to the Milo's specific nature. The most common assumption among archaeologists and historians of ancient Israel is that the Milo is the stepped stone structure uncovered by Kathleen Kenyon, that's the archaeologist, and demonstrated by Iat Mazar to be connected to the recently uncovered large stone structure, right? Now, these people tripping with my images right now. They're not giving me my images, man. It's jamming me up. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, we got something here, right? Fortified cities, fortified cities, fortified cities. Now they're gonna give me an image, and I don't know exactly where this particular image is, but you're gonna see how this connects. All right, I'm just gonna kind of get close. It's kind of small, but you see how this is a fortified cities, and again, we talked about the zigzag building and how this was their thing. Alright, I mean, you know, choose up. This is how the city of David was built. Alright, so okay, so from here, okay, in the book of Samuel, Milo is mentioned as a boundary of King David's construction while building up the city of David after the capture of Jerusalem from the Jebusites. The King James Version translated to English footnotes Milo as literally the landfill, while the New International Version translates it to supporting terraces. Hezekiah's repaired the Milo is mentioned within a list of repairs to military fortifications, and several scholars generally believe that it was something connected to military activity, such as the tower, citadel, or simply a significant part of the wall. However, taking into account that the potential cognate term mulu from Assyrian refers to earthworks, it is considered more likely that it was an embankment which flattened the slope between Ophel and the Temple Mount. All right, so you got the stepstone structure. Now, what does it say? Now, we read all that, but we didn't read the first line for a reason. Let's go back to the first line. What do you see right here? Si, Milo, Mulu, Cuzco. The first thing they tell you is to go to South America. And then I read all the drop, and then you saw the picture. But let's go to South America. They want to go to Cuzco. I'll say it says, for the mountains in the Apurimic region, Peru. Milo, for the mountain in the Apurimic region, Peru. Si, Mulu, Apurimic, for the mountains in the Cusco region, Peru. Si, Milu. So they gave us two different sources in Peru. Mulu and Mulu Apurimic, but they're still all the region, but they're still talking about. So we're talking about Cusco, the Mulu. I'm going to click on the Mulu. Go like that. Like that. Daddy daycare, man. All right. Mulu. All right. I'm following Wikipedia's drop now. Let's go. They want to take us for a ride. I didn't have to take you to South America. They took you to South America. Mulu. I'm a Mara for a kind of salpeter, light brown, reddish, fair head, da da da. Quichua, back to the quiche, Quichua for salty. Hispanicanized spelling Milu, Millo. So the Milo, the first one we saw, this is hilarious. So this comes from a Hebrew word, but that's the Hispanicanized spelling. So it's really Millu. Let's go. This is in where? Cusco, South America. Who took us there? Wikipedia. They took us to Cusco. Read it. This is the city of David, Peru. Hispanicanized spelling Milo with the O is a mountain in the Huaycanuta region, mountain region in the Andes of Peru. The Andes, so they're taking us to the Andes of Peru, about 5,500 meters, which is 18,000 feet high. It is situated in the Cusco region, the Canchis province, Kekakupi district, and the Puno region, Carabaya province, and the Carani district. Mulu lies northwest of the large glaciated area of Ritimpampa, Quechua for snow plain, and west of Unu La Quicina. Does it sound like some play? Or it's the city of David in Peru, with the kingdom of Solomon all together in Jerusalem, in Peru, the navel of the earth. Let's keep going. All right, now, all in the same area in Cusco, you have this Sacsayhuaman. Another name for this particular city of David is Sacsayhuaman. All right, so they took us to Cusco. Let's stay in Cusco. Sacsayhuaman. Hispanicanized spelling has a different way. Is a citadel on the northern outskirts of the city of Cusco, Peru, the historical capital of the Inca Empire, right? And who's the last king? Pachacuti. Last king of Jerusalem. We found that. That's the drop. Pachacuti. Pachacuti. All right. And we have some little shady drawing of them, but you already know what time it is. Okay, oh man, let's close that. Sacsayhuaman, all right, so citadel northern outskirts of the city of Cuzco, Peru, the historic capital of the Inca Empire. Sections were first built by the Quilque culture about 1100. They had occupied the area since 900. So that was the first thing I heard about this Quilque. And then when I look up the Quilque, it's just some indigenous people that occupied the area between 900 and 1100 or 1200 AD, which is still the same people as the Anasazis or the Mexica. The Quilque are the Mexica. But they're going to try to hide you now in Quilque culture. So someone try to research that, because I keep hitting these dead ends that just lead to indigenous people, which got to be the melanated people that are there. And they're saying that they built this city, which are the Mexica people, which are the Anasazi people, whatever you want to call them, the Aztecs, whatever you want to call them. K-I-L-L-K-E. Let's go. The complex was expanded and added to by the Inca from the 13th century, the 1200s. They built dry stone walls constructed of huge stones. The workers carefully cut the borders to fit them together tightly without any mortar. Right? The site has an altitude of 12,142 feet. In 1983, Cuzco and Sacsayhuaman together were added to the UNESCO World Heritage List for recognition and protection. Why? Because it's the city of David. So they had to put it in UNESCO World Heritage. You know, they turn all your stuff into World Heritage sites and preserves. You can see that. Okay? This ain't play. We're just dropping that drop. Surfing the wave. Let's keep going. Again, you built all this stuff, this zigzag stuff, all this kind of stuff like this, right? Again, Quilque culture, Wikipedia, research it. This is what they're saying. It's all they're saying about who these Quilques are. And you tell me if it's any different than what you've been already getting. Trying to keep it still for you. Alright. So read all that. Get it. Get it and got it. Sorry for the shake. Alright. They're going to keep bringing it back to you. They're going to keep bringing it back to you. Alright. That's all I got for you, man. As far as that little close-up. Other than that, pull up the link. You got it. Kingdom of Cuzco, Inca Empire. They keep bringing us right back there. So again, the Quilque people, which are the Mexica people, which is you. All right, these are all code words and names for yourself. All right, so this is you. Quilque, Anasazi, Mexica, all this stuff is you. Negro. See how they just split you up in a million pieces? Just they'll never piece themselves back together again with all these titles. Aztec, Mayan, Mexica, Anasazi, Cherokee, this, that. Some people like different titles. Just come back. Just go back home. Go back home. Call yourselves Tribe Nation and go back home, man. We can call ourselves, Indigenous Cherokee Anasazi Tribal Union. Alright, we just made that up together. Indigenous Cherokee Anasazi Tribal Union. What's that? The ICATU. ICATU, or Ikatu. We are the Ikatu people. Okay. Tribe Nation, we are the Ikatu people, the Indigenous Cherokee Anasazi Tribal Union. Alright? Or you can go Indigenous Cherokee Anasazi Aboriginal Tribal Union. Ikatu. Deal with it. Inca history. Cuzco was long and important center of indigenous people. Cuzco was a long and important center of indigenous people. Cuzco was a long and important center, navel of indigenous people. It was the capital of the Inca Empire. Many believe that the city was planned as an effigy in the shape of a puma or sacred animal. We're going to get into that because they are injecting here. They put Puma there so that you don't see lion. Puma, and then they're gonna say how pumas are important. Man, look, lions is a cat. It's a big cat, just like a puma. But if they tell you it's a puma and not a lion, right? The New Testament says in Genesis, like a lioness who will rouse Judah. All right, the KJV 1611 at least says like an old lion who will rouse him. And as an old lion, who will rouse you? Oh, that's a puma. That's not an old lion. Who will rouse you in the city of lions? You're going to see the connection to Cuzco in the name City of Lions. How they call that the City of Lions, not the City of Pumas. But no, that they're going to tell you that's a puma. They're playing, man. They're trying to hijack you. Let's go. Many people believe the city was planned as an effigy to the shape of a puma, a sacred animal. How Cuzco was specifically built or how its large stones were quarried and transferred to the site remain unknown, undetermined. Under the Inca, the city had two sectors, the Urin, U-R-I-N, and the Hanan, H-A-N-A-N. So those are the two sections of the city. Each was divided to encompass 2 of the 4 provinces, and it breaks down all these provinces, which we read last time. A road led to each of quarter to the corresponding quarter. Let me read that again. A road led from each of quarter to the corresponding quarter of the empire. All right, so that's what it says. And it goes deeper into the house of the city. It says each local leader was required to build a house in the city and live part year in Cuzco. So we read some of that. I just wanted to get some of that back. We can go deeper into the battles of specifically Francisco Pizarro. You got to research them. He doesn't come up that often, but he's the guy that's credited with taking down the last king of Jerusalem. And you should know about Francisco Pizarro. I'm saying this is after the Spanish invasion. All right, so this is a part you definitely want to check out. Pull it up and read that and get that drop after the Spanish invasion. All right, y'all got me working today. All right, so the first 3 Spaniards arrived in the city May 1533, after the Battle of Cajamarca. So research that, Battle of Cajamarca, Cajamarca, collecting for the Atahualpa's ransom room on this is real stuff, 15 November 1533, Francisco Pizarro officially arrived in Cuzco, the capital of the Incas, astonished the Spaniards by the beauty of its edifices, the length and regularity of its streets. This is what they found here, man. I mean, you just got to turn up on these people one time. I mean, you got to take a selah when you realize they found you here, and this is the condition they found you in, and then you look at your condition today, and that they stole everything. I mean, what would happen to these people who are judging us Negro people and how we act if we stole everything from you and left nothing for your children, and they had nothing for their children? What would be their state? What was your state before you came here to our shores and learned about soap and deodorant? And that's in your documentation. Don't judge us. We are prisoners of war. We are the indigenous, Cherokee, Anasazi, Aboriginals, Tribal Union. Inka tu. Alright. So these Spaniards were amazed at the capital, amazed at what they saw when they found you here. But that's not it, right? We read a lot of it in the American Holocaust by Dan Stannard, and how they said, man, the streets were so clean that they were estimated that the Aztec ruler Montezuma had at least 1,000 street sweepers to keep the streets so clean. How everybody was dressed in white, and how everything was pristine, and how our marketplaces were so ordered, and how there is where Cortez and them learned about soap and deodorant, perfumes. They said, man, we had none of this. We had to learn about this stuff. So how was they smelling? How was they looking? But you're just unclean, right, Negro? You're at the bottom of the pile now. Ha-ha. Look at what they did to us. Look at where we're at, trying to piece us back together. So look, they, they were astonished, the Spaniards, by the beauty of its edifices, the length and regularity of its streets. The great square was surrounded by several palaces, since each sovereign built a new palace for himself. The delicacy of the stonework excelled that of the Spaniards. The fortresses had 3 parapets and was composed of heavy masses of rock. Through the heart of the capital ran a river faced with stone. Trying to find this stuff. Oh, nope, nope, nope. This is what happens when you have 80 tabs open. You gotta take a forced Selah. Alright, so they were amazed at what? The way that the fortresses were built. And how these is much stronger, man, than anything they've ever seen. Without mortar, how do they fit all these pieces together like this? You can't put nothing through that. You go try to do that with these tons of rocks and see how the Spaniards were mind blasted when they found us here. The fortresses had 3 parapets, and was composed of heavy masses of rock. Through the heart of the capital ran a river faced with stone. The most sumptuous edifice in Cuzco was undoubtedly the great temple dedicated to the sun. Right? So they're talking about the great temple in Cuzco. I'm saying that's Jerusalem. The hijacks are the hijacks, but I'm saying that's Jerusalem. Studded with gold plates, surrounded by convents and dormitories for the priests. The palaces were numerous, and the troops lost no time in plundering them in their contents. Plundering them. Well, why would the Spanish priests plunder these temples in Jerusalem when they found them? Let's see. We grant you, kings of Spain and Portugal, by these present documents, with our apostolic authority, full and free permission to invade, search out, capture, and subjugate the Saracens and pagans, and all other unbelievers and enemies of Christ, wherever they may be, as well as their kingdoms, duchies, counties, principalities, and other property, and to reduce their persons into perpetual servitude. You're a prisoner of war. Forever. Perpetual. Forever. Unless you do something, you're a prisoner of war forever. Dumb diverses means until different, and that's word to Winifred Hoke. So that's why the palaces were numerous, and the troops lost no time in plundering them of their contents, as well as despoiling the religious edifices, including the royal mummies in the Coricancha. The Coricancha. Look that up. Coricancha. So royal mummies and all this stuff. They're finding this stuff, mummies and all this, because Egypt is here too. Everything's here, right? All right. So Pizarro renamed it. So he renamed this place to the very noble and great city of Cuzco. The very noble and great city of Cuzco. I'm telling you, this is the city of King David, and he renames it to the very noble and great city of Cuzco. Let's go, man. Let's keep going. So I didn't get a chance to even get anything out of this last time, but I just want to jump into it and see where we go. So let's just get into, this is out of the Nephi Code, out the Mormon, how they were connecting the cliches, and that's what they were doing. The Mormons were taking the cliches, our writings, and then tying that into their version of this, scripture, this 1611 hijack, right? So a lot of stuff is in there because they were using our cliches. So I'm reading, it says, first, as they write on their website, to understand why it's helpful to look. All right, let me go back. I want to see. They turn wearers into seers who are unable to see any evidence that contradicts their theories. The Mesoamerican lenses blind the wearer. So too does the wearing of Great Lakes lenses, as an example. I know it sounds crazy, but let's surf the wave. So Great Lakes, we're talking about Utah, we're talking about all that, right? As Samuel the Lamanite prophesied, valleys will rise up to become mountains, whose height is great, and that's in Helaman 14:23. This is probably in the Book of Mormon, I believe so. The Great Lakes theorist ignores this. The Great Lakes theorist ignores this, since there are no mountains of any kinds, not even hills, in the Great Lakes area of their model. 2. As Jacob told the Nephites in the temple, the Lord has made the sea our path, and we are upon an island of the sea. That's in 2 Nephi 10:20. This is out the Nephi Code. These are other texts. These are other texts that are using the cliches. This is not the 1611 hijack. When King James came here in 1603, and he says he put out 2 patents specifically to colonize you, using the dumb diverses, putting you in perpetual servitude, King James is a dark brother. He is an Edomite. Just like the Spaniards were dark. All these people were dark that did this to you. You're the last tribe to wake up. Psalms 83. They formed a confederacy against you. As Jacob told the Nephites in the temple, the Lord has made the sea our path, and we are upon an island of the sea. This is what Jacob told the Nephites, that the sea was their path, and we are now upon an island of the sea. Not only is the Great Lakes location not an island, or never was one, it cannot be reached from the sea over which Nephi's ship sailed. 3. As Nephi described of his vision, I looked and beheld a man among the Gentiles who was separated from the seed of my brethren by many waters. I beheld the Spirit of God, that it came down and wrought upon the man, and he went forth upon the many waters, even unto the seed of my brethren who were in the promised land. That man, being Columbus, never set foot in the Great Lakes area, in which is now the United States, or even North America. So this person is trying to disprove all this stuff, but when you hear it, you can't help but resonate it. So I don't know if he's going against the hijack, or maybe he's just trying to say that this is some stuff that they say against it, but he's trying to maybe clarify it. So let's just keep reading down. My bad, I should have bookmarked this part. Rock with me. Alright, here we go. In all of this, especially the latter, the Nephites and Mormons narrative covers the area in which Niagara existed along the west. To think it would not have played an important role in that escape, where, quote unquote, whatsoever lands we have passed by, and the inhabitants thereof were not gathered in, were destroyed by the Lamanites, and their towns and villages and cities were burned with fire. And thus 379 years passed away, and it came to pass that in the 380th year the Lamanites did come again against us to battle, and we did stand up against them boldly. But it was all in vain, for so great were their number that they did tread the people of the Nephites under their feet. And it came to pass that we did again take to flight. So they had to bounce. And those whose flight was swifter than the Lamanites did escape. And those whose flight did not exceed the Lamanites were swept down and destroyed. And that's in the Book of Mormon 5:5 through 7. After all, that escape route would have been along the falls and rivers that lead to Lake Ontario, you know, all this stuff here, right? Let's go. In an extremely spurious argument, the Great Lakes theorists claim the fact that Western New York was inundated in antiquity fits the description found in Ether 13:2. However, the comment made by Moroni, for he truly told them of all things from the beginning of man, and that after the waters had receded from off the face of this land, it became a choice land above all other lands. It all started here. A chosen land of the Lord. It all started here. Wherefore the Lord would have that all men should serve him who dwell upon the face thereof. If you come here, you got to rock with the Creator. That is the law of the land. They got us in their courts, in their law, their maritime law, according to their law. And they tell us our laws are done away with because we've been invaded. We are prisoners of war, so we got to go with their courts, their law. We rock with the law of the land because we are the people of the land. This land was given to us by God, right? By Haya, by the energy. We are God-given birthright people here. We are Mexica. We are Anasazi. We are first people, right? So in an extreme, spurious argument, the Great Lakes theory claims the fact that the western New York was inundated in antiquity fits the description found in Ether 13:2. However, the comment made by Moroni, for he truly told them of all things from beginning of man, that after the waters had receded from off the face of this land, it became a choice land above all the lands, a chosen land of the Lord, Haya. Wherefore Haya would have that all men should serve him who dwell upon the face thereof. And that's in Ether 13:2. Is in regard to Noah's flood, waters receding off the face of this land, in which flood waters covered all lands, and this statement would apply to any location in Western Hemisphere as well as the entire world. Obviously, the fact that the entire earth was inundated with water cannot single out a specific location, right? So if you're talking about the whole earth this way, or we're talking about the flood and the sinking of Egypt here, you know what I'm saying? That's when we go back to the sinking of Egypt. You know what I'm saying? That's when we got to understand what happened, and that's Atlantis. When Egypt was sunk here before the 18th, or in the middle of the 18th dynasty, before they picked that up with the 6th king, Tutmosis III, over there, Egypt was sunk here. Atlantis was sunk here. The flood happened here. Atlantis is still here. Peru, South America was the center of it. It's the navel of the earth. Let's keep going. I'll drop that link. Oh yeah, and then I get to get back into this good book. Skip ahead a little bit. All right, Cuzco. Open this up. This is in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Encyclopedia Britannica, Cuzco. Let's see what they got to say. Right? Aren't we tying all this together? Cuzco. All right, Peru. Also spelled Cuzco, Cusco. Cusco. That's funny. Quiche, Quechua, Quesco. Look how they spelled this right here. And now you got an indigenous name to really look up. That one right there, all right? Also spelled Cusco, with the Q, right? All right, let's get it quick. City of Inca region, South Central Peru. It is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the Western Hemisphere. Continuously inhabited cities in the Western Hemisphere. What does it mean to be continuously inhabited? It means that after Atlantis was sunk, people were still here. The order still survived. You predate Atlantis and you survived the flood. When Thoth said in Emerald Tablet, was it 1? I think the first tablet. He says Atlantis was being sunken, and he hopped in the ship with the dweller. And the dweller said, go to where the barbarians are in the land of Kim. That's when they went to Kemet. And he said the barbarians attacked them with spears, and he raised his staff and put a slave vibration and had them groveling at his feet while he did magic science and hypnotizing them with magic science and gave them soul force. He hijacked their energy, is what he did. The same way he did here, which is why it was sunk. Atlantis, Egypt was sunk. All right. So because the center, the navel survived, the order survived, it is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the Western Hemisphere, formerly the capital of the extensive Inca Empire. Again, who's the last king of Jerusalem? Pachacuti. Not this hijack, of course. Pachacuti. Remember when we looked up Pachacuti, what did we get? We got a different image, right? I don't know where it is, but we looked it up and you saw what we got. Y'all saw. Alright, let's just keep going before I get lost in the sauce. Alright, so oh yeah. Conserve my battery. Let's go quick. So formerly the city of the extensive Inca Empire, Cuzco, it retains much of its highly crafted early stone architecture, which is typically preserved in the foundations and lower stories of Spanish colonial structures. Cuzco was designated as a UNESCO UN, right? World Heritage Site. So the Pope got it, right? And that's what they're doing, the King Solomon's Temple again and all this kind of stuff over there. In 1983, the city stands high in the Andes at an elevation of over 11,150 feet. All right, here's what I want to get. Cuzco, whose name derives from Quechua, the Quiche Quechua word meaning navel or center, dates from 11th century to 12th century, as well as the capital of Tahuantinsuyo, which means realm of the four parts. So this city that was built by Pachacuti, all right, Pachacuti. He built the city Tahuantinsuyo, Tahuantinsuyu, realm of the four parts, an empire that by the late 15th century extended to the northwest some 1,100 miles, reaching approximately to the northern border of present-day Ecuador, and to the south all the way to Chile, as well as the southeastern to the portions of modern-day Bolivia and Argentina. All that, Jerusalem. The city itself had tens of thousands of inhabitants, perhaps as much as 200,000. You were there. Cusco and the surrounding areas contain extensive Inca ruins, reflect the great skill of engineering, stonework, and architecture. Still extant are numerous walls built without mortar. We just saw those stones. Their stones were cut in irregular shapes and fitted with such precision that a matchbox cover cannot be inserted into most seams. They cannot even put a matchbox cover into the seams. The famous stones of 12 angels, the famous stone of 12 angels, the famous stone of 12 angles, angles is a fine example of this construction. The famous stone of 12 angles in Cusco is an example of this construction. The original streets of Cusco are narrow and frequently stepped. All right. Keep going. Let's keep going. Let's go back, actually. So when we talk Andes, just so you know, when you look up Andes, so you know every time you hear, oh, this is in the Andes, that's just South America. All right, the Andes running along South America, the western side, is among the world's largest mountain ranges. All right, so that's right here talking about you, so you don't get it twisted. And when they say that this thing is in the shape of a puma, you look up Cusco, and they're going to try to give you a puma, right? And look how they try to draw a line or draw it in. In reality, this is what it looks like a sphinx almost. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing's in the shape of a lion. It's called the City of Lions. This is the city of David. Cusco. That's the shape. Do you see a puma? Can you not put a lion mane on that mug and have a lion right there? Or does this have to be a puma? Are you going to take their word for it that's a puma? Or are you going to put a lion's mane on that and make a lion? I mean, in actuality, this is all you really got. So you put your lion head on there and you tell me what you get. And again, you got these irregular shaped, you know, zigzags. Just like the brother Antoine Daniel. This all came from Antoine Daniel, man. So King's the Antoine Daniel. Brother got the drop. I got 6 minutes left on my battery. You seen Cusco. You seen Cusco. You understand Machu Picchu. You see why they called you people of the gods and how they thought you were just people living in heaven. You were so clean and precise. Man, don't believe this savage stuff you hear. Don't believe it. Don't buy it. All right, lastly, I'm just going to get back to that book, Manasseh, Manasseh ben Israel and his world. You know, I'm just going to conclude with this drop right here. I'm just going to read it out. Now, he dropped How This Guy Thorogood. He's this researcher, you know, you can read about it. It's all there. You got the other drop. He immediately put into context some of the providential data he had learned from the Jews in Holland, especially from Manasseh ben Israel. The lost tribes of Israel would reappear just before the millennium. They thought that was 1650. We're saying that's right now. We're reappearing. We're waking up right before the millennium, right before the end of days, right before the end of their time, and our time began. He had heard from a Jewish jeweler in The Hague, that some of the lost tribes had been located east of the Holy Land, in Persia or in Afghanistan. We're everywhere. We're spread everywhere. We've been captured and put everywhere. He had heard from the most learned Jewish writer of the time, listen up, his friend and co-worker Manasseh ben Israel, that a Portuguese Moreno explorer, Antonio de Montesinos, had encountered a Jewish tribe in the Andes. We showed you what the Andes is, South America. He knew that Manasseh had Montesinos who had come to he knew that Manasseh had Montesinos who had come to Amsterdam in 1644 give his account before a notary. So Dury, who was at the time planning to set up a college of Jewish studies in London, this is for real, with Manasseh as one of his 3 professors, wrote Manasseh for a copy of the Montesinos report. He was duly sent it. Then Dury and his fellow millenarian, which means end of world student, these people study Daniel and Revelations, Nathaniel Holmes, wrote Manasseh to see if he had made out what they did. So did you fucking find out what we found out? Namely, that the Indians were the lost tribes. So the Christians can't come over here feeling like Christians, knowing that 300 million of us were slaughtered here. That the Spaniards took over Jerusalem, that Columbus in his own writings in the Biblioteca de Colombia and Seville said, I'm coming to recapture Jerusalem in America. That these Americans, these indigenous people, are Israel. Our tribes are here. The correspondence printed in the preface to Thorogood's book shows Manasseh being most cautious, unconvinced, until he finally is willing to say that the group encountered by Montesinos could be part of a lost tribe, while the rest of the inhabitants of Americas were migrants from Asia. Well, sure, everybody's here. Holmes immediately pointed out that this meant that the climax of world history was at hand. He thought the world was ending because the lost tribes were beginning to reappear. They're thinking abstract. We know it's inward. We are inwardly reappearing today. Manasseh was asked what was a Jewish view about the lost tribes and their reappearance. Rather than write another letter, Manasseh wrote his famous work, The Hope of Israel, which appeared in 1650 in Spanish, Latin, Hebrew, English, and in Dutch. Is this play? A few years later, the English edition dedicated to the Revolutionary Parliament of England, is this play, was translated by a friend of John Milton's, the wide-eyed Malarian, Moses Wall. This translation appeared in editions in 1650, 1651, and 1652. The last 2 editions included an appendix in which Wall exchanged views with a reader and emphasized the millenarian importance of his work and that it should help bring about the conversion of the Jews. That his work should help bring about the conversion of the Jews. Before, they just stated it's a quandary because they don't know how they're going to convert real Jews to Christianity. How can they hijack you is their quandary. And he's saying that the last 2 editions included an appendix in which Wall exchanged views with the reader and emphasized the millenarian importance of his work and that it should help bring about the conversion of the Jews. Israel, you, Negro. Now you're a Christian, right? Even prior to Wall's translation of Manasseh's own publication in Spanish, Hebrew, and Latin, his text and the Montesinos report and his views were having reverberations on both sides of the Atlantic Ocean. One Edward Winslow in 1648 published a work entitled The Glorious Progress of the Gospel Among the Indians in New England, manifested by 3 letters under the hand of the famous instrument of the Lord, John Eliot. So all these works are published about you, the glorious progress of the gospel among the Indians in New England. So among the cats in Boston, the Indians in Boston, a whole published work is about you in 1649 from Edward Winslow called The Glorious Progress of the Gospel Among the Indians in New England. Come on. The work was dedicated to Parliament and the Council of State. Is this play? In the preface, Winslow said that there are two great questions which have troubled ancient and modern writers. Listen up. Here are the two great questions. Here we go. Two great questions which have troubled ancient and modern writers and men of the greatest depth and ability. They have tried to resolve. What became of the 10 tribes of Israel, and where did the American Indians come from? Here's the two great questions that have troubled ancient and modern writers and men of the greatest depth and ability. They have tried to resolve. 1, what became of the 10 tribes of Israel, or 12 tribes of Israel? And 2, where did the American Indians come from? Who are you, Negro? I don't know. Where did you come from? I don't know. What happened to the sons and daughters of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? They're a myth. Your own black leaders are calling you a myth. And they said the two greatest questions that troubled the highest minds of the highest ability were: 1, what happened to these tribes? And 2, where did these Indians come from? I have two great questions, and I'm sure everyone shares these questions. 1, who am I? And 2, where did I come from? My inward question is, who am I and where did I come from? And so is yours. And their two greatest questions that puzzle them to this day are: what happened to the tribes? And where did these Indians come from? Activate. This is not research. This is your life. This is the truth. Stay up, suit up, choose up.